Welcome to Quantum Kinetics First Diffusion Podcast, Episode 6. I'm Randal Bird, President and Chief Operating Officer, and your host today. And with me, I have the distinct pleasure and honor to introduce our brand new Chief Production Officer. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. I'm Bryton Rodgers, Chief Production Officer of Quantum Kinetics Corporation. And I just joined the team.
And Bryton, welcome aboard, man. I got to tell you, when we brought Bryton aboard, there was a definite sense that this is progress for the entire company, because we took this moment to evaluate where we were going and how we felt about the future. And the future started to look like things are going to happen. We need a guy to get these things going. So Bryton, tell us a little bit about your background and give us a little bit of your industry experience and a couple of pieces that might tell us a little more about you.
Sure thing. I have been in basically the arts of building things and designing things, making sure they work, figuring out how to pull things apart and piece them together pretty much my whole life. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer when I was 11 years old. And I took a few different paths getting to where I am today, but it's been quite a varied journey. I've been involved in land development, a lot of different construction. I've been entrepreneurial throughout, and I have paid a lot of attention to and done a lot of my own manufacturing with a variety of techniques, additive and subtractive manufacturing, if you want to use the industry terms, but cutting stuff, pulling it apart, piecing it together. I spent a lot of time educating myself also in a variety of fields, including just psychology, biology, physics, electronics, electrical engineering, a bit of ham radio here and there. I think that probably the best way to put it is that I've been an autodidact with an obsession for learning for so long that I've become quite good at interacting with a lot of different people and being able to come to a functional and practical understanding of what needs to be done, what needs to happen next. And because of the time I spent actually in industry dealing with an industrial clientele, pricing things out, planning projects, and figuring out how to present them, I've also become good at having a lot of foresight on how to handle difficulties in projects and knowing what things we need to be looking for.
Yeah, that really speaks to me too, because from a program management, project management standpoint, I appreciate the value and the additional synchronous that we can do as a team, especially our combined talents, for the kinds of things that bring projects and planning and production together.
Absolutely.
And so tell us a little bit about how you came to Quantum Kinetics and what was a little bit of the path that brought you to this chair today.
Well, McCain and I have been friends for a lot of years, and he kind of dropped off the map. And I had no idea where he was at or what he was doing, and I got kind of carried away with my own life. I was working my butt off, trying to do all the things that interested me, and kind of building up that experience base that I just described. And something struck me to go ahead and be like, hey, McCain, I haven't heard from you in a long time. What have you been up to? And lo and behold, he's been doing something that is just completely out of left field. It is quite exciting.
I don't even think a field describes it.
It wasn't even on the field.
Yeah.
And we got talking and kept talking. And I, of course, being a curious-minded individual, kept asking questions. And particularly about the tech. And because that's the stuff that really excites me.
Right.
And I think that's why I'm good at it, this sort of stuff, and building things, is because I get so worked up. I'm just like, I want to understand that, and how to make it work, and how to make it better. How do we improve this stuff? And that becomes this whole story that I'm telling myself inside of my head as I'm working along.
Yeah.
And that really drives me to like chase down a lot of details and solve stuff. And eventually McCain finally asked me, like, hey, do you want to be our chief production officer and help us build this thing? And I think it's kind of perfect, really.
Yeah.
I think I'm a perfect match for this job. I'm really excited about it, at least. So we'll see how far that gets me.
And the pieces that have been put together so far, and myself included in this, we were kind of, I don't know that you saw this coming. I don't know that I saw this coming. All we know is when the opportunity came, it was the right thing at the right time, and it's going to help us off to a much better future. And I think that we actually have a very important key roles to play in ensuring this succeeds.
Absolutely.
And welcome. We couldn't be more excited to have you. It is an honor.
Couldn't be more excited to join.
All right. So we're going to go into a little bit on hot fusion and the differences between and the challenges of what they're trying to do and what we're trying to do. We've talked about this before in a couple of contexts between McCain and I, but today we're going to take a little bit of a production angle on it. And I'd like to kind of see if you can synthesize this in a manner that's consistent with your approach through the production angles. Can you tell us a little about hot fusion differences first?
Well, I think there's a lot of stuff going on in hot fusion. Most of the way that we've been trying to accomplish and sustain fusion for commercial reactors and experimental reactors for the last 70 years, barring a couple of very specific exceptions, has been centered around using the electrodynamics of getting large currents through plasma to create a strong enough confinement to actually elevate temperatures and pressures up to a high enough level that you can create fusion interactions, which we have always measured with very specific X-ray signatures.
Right.
A big part of that problem is that when you're creating these extreme pressures and temperatures, you have to do a lot of engineering and manufacturing in order to get this region where the fusion is taking place to actually occupy a large enough space that you can create enough fusion output energy to harvest that and pull it out in the form of heat, because everything in energy eventually comes back to steam or pressure gradients to drive a spinning turbine.
Yeah.
When you are doing that, all of these incredible technologies that the hot fusion industry has worked to bring all together into one big device, like all these several tokamaks that are around the world and doing some pretty incredible stuff. They've made some incredible innovations in the fields of metallurgy, in the fields of superconductors, cryogenic systems, shielding from heat and radiation, and they keep inching their way up and millimetering their way up closer and closer and closer to what's been the goal mark for a long time, is being able to sustain a fusion plasma at 100 million degrees or hotter for hopefully an unlimited period of time, right?
Right. Their 22-minute record right now is where they stand.
Right. We've been doing this for 70 years as a people across the globe. And they've gotten up to 22 minutes. And a big part of the problem is that when you create these massive pressures and temperatures, they're so close to your magnets, because you have to have these ultra strong magnets to create a strong magnet. You have to have a superconductor to have a superconductor with our current technologies. And for, as far as I can tell, and I think most people can tell, for the foreseeable future, you need super cold temperatures. And if you get those things close together, that's obviously a problem.
Right.
So in order to keep these magnets working, we have enormous cryogenic systems that have to be down at sub-liquid nitrogen temperatures in a lot of cases. And having that, trying to maintain that kind of a temperature and pressure gradient, we have a lot of construction that goes into creating those isolated environments as close as possible to each other. And it's very extensive, very expensive construction process that takes a long time. And as soon as you operate these things, the reason we're only at 22 minutes is because the process destroys the reactor itself. And then you have to build it over again to a significant extent, which gets in the way of progress.
Of course, because they're rebuilding something using similar materials. So the breakthrough either has to be a better alloy or combination of materials that produces a tensile strength that can support that kind of change in a cryogenics on one side, superheated. They need something a little more robust as a solution for a long-term property. However, they've run into the same over and over. They haven't produced something different, but they're still attempting this with the same type of technology, expecting that different result. And I don't want to kick that too many times.
Right. And I also need to jump in and say that the engineering challenge associated with actually harvesting the heat and energy from that fusion reaction is another whole challenge of its own, because while you're trying to shield outside of that fusion zone from all of that heat and pressure, you're also having to figure out some way to get your water or other fluid in there to absorb that heat and carry it away.
Output.
Right.
Yes.
But everything inside of those magnets is getting actively demolished, essentially, by that ongoing fusion reaction.
Right. So, in contrast, Quantum Kinetics has devised a system that doesn't use the same science to do something completely different with different results. Do you want to tell us a little bit about our production standard and cycle, kind of the way that we see things?
I sure can. The main advantage that I see us having is that our system is so dramatically simple. The reactor itself does not require special materials. It doesn't have these huge gradients, because inside of the reactor, where the reaction is taking place, it's occurring in water. Water is self-shielding, and because we have the ability to control this effectively and throttle it is probably the most important feature here. We can just turn that dial up. We can go and turn it up, and you've probably, if you're following this channel, you've probably seen McCain's other videos that he's put out, and you together, where you've exhibited that, and you can watch that X-ray intensity signature go up and up and up with that slow dial turn, and that's what's really needed in order to be able to accomplish this, because that prevents runaways of the interaction and more rapid, uncontrollable destruction of the equipment. And it allows you to find a sweet spot much more easily and just keep the thing running and running and running
without
stopping,
and
so that you can harvest energy.
And destroying our equipment. So the other thing is dielectric mediums. We're not just limited to water, of course, too. Air. Last episode we went with Red Bull. And so
right. We could go off down that road, and I think that's one of the really exciting fields that we'll be exploring in the future. Is what else can we do with this reactor when we change the reaction medium? And we've already been internally discussing that, and I won't get into that here. It's trade secret. But for me, it's, as a total tech and manufacturing and building stuff nerd, I'm geeking out over it, and it's super exciting for me.
And really, who wouldn't at the opportunity, right? This is a definite blessing and an opportunity for all of us. So, all right. So with that, some of our pieces that we've come up with from our own production ideas, because what we want to talk about is a very forward-thinking, progressive way to look at things. We don't need to talk about hot fusion in the past anymore.
Absolutely.
But I would love to talk now about some of QKC's production ideas, and one of which is nuclear decontamination. And we have already demonstrated through verified results what happens with uranium-234, 5, and 8, how we break it down, how we turn it into inert materials, how it has electrophysical transmutation of properties that were zero in the periodic table are lighting up our values this is the part where we can't try to pretend we can explain this, because really there's something going on a little bit deeper than this. We're excited by what we've done to break open a new frontier in this. And I think this is a little bit of the underappreciated, whether you're with us or against us, to try to understand what we're talking about here and the significance of it, because there's a potential that at most universities and in most industries, somebody's going to have to go and look at this further, because this is unique. We're doing it with over unity of incredible power differentiation between a little bit in and a massive out, as we've said many times in our previous episodes. But this electrophysical transmutation allows us to kind of take a little bit of a lead in the beginnings of exploring our production standards and opportunities. And nuclear decontamination has been one of the areas that we had talked about. There are some production possibilities with us. Do you want to give us a couple of ideas on where our brain trust has been devising our little plans for the future on that?
Absolutely. Pardon me. So with the two, I'd call them our flagship applications of this technology, amongst a whole host of other opportunities that we've been considering exploring in the near future and further out, are nuclear waste decontamination, which we've proved with a third party. We had massive reductions in the 3 important uranium isotopes within a 24-hour period,
right,
with a few watts of input. So that's one very important one that basically falls under the larger category of, I'd just say we could do water treatment processes with this thing. And water treatment, with this reactor design, becomes a very simple addition to what essentially amounts to a simple circulation, sediment filtration, and removal system. And fortunately for us, a lot of the sediments that we get out of these reactors are actually quite valuable and useful materials that weren't there before. So that's what you get when you have a fusion device. And something that might come up is the topic, or like, well, you're talking about fusion. Why are you talking about breaking down uranium into lighter elements? And I think it's important to remember that it basically acts to pull things to whatever range you're setting things. So we can set the dial and hit light elements. We can set the dial.
I call it the easy bake oven.
Yeah, we got a little atomic easy bake oven, and to not get into that too much more.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple and straightforward to build our reactors, and then we can just plug those things in essentially to a lot of systems that have already been thoroughly worked out, engineered, designed for a lot of other purposes, like waste treatment, filtration. And the same goes for power generation, which is another big ticket item. When you take any sort of power generation, as I said earlier, it always comes back to spinning a turbine.
Right.
So if you have something that can boil water, like our fusion reactor, then you just plug it in to a little boiler tank and feed that steam through the power generation system. So you're through a steam turbine.
You're touching on the thing that I wanted to talk about next, and that is, since we've talked about nuclear decontamination and waste treatment, what would we as a production team now be looking at with an application to that for industry or contribution to science, etc.?
I would say the quickest and simplest one we could do is water treatment.
Yeah.
We can decontaminate nuclear waste, and we know that's widely distributed across the planet, and we're making more of it because we like energy, we like electricity, and we use a lot of it. And one of the best things to do that is, most effective things to do that is nuclear fission power. They create nuclear waste. And we have something that is ready to offer that service of getting rid of that waste that's expensive to store and keep around, and is also for long-term storage purposes, a bit dangerous because it tends to transmute with its own radiation the container that it's in, embrittle the metal, cause breakages and leakages, and then contamination of the surrounding areas over long term. So you have to spend a lot of money monitoring and upgrading or repairing this kind of equipment before it actually leaks outside of your secondary and tertiary containment.
Right. And so that's become something of it's been in the news. We haven't seen three-eyed fish at Hanford yet, but maybe they're out there somewhere. So we'll see about that. Okay. So, another aspect of this is not only remediation, but also there's energy generation. And we've talked a little about our abilities to do this. Again, we can't give away too much in the trade secret side of things, but from your production knothole, how would you describe a little bit of our energy creation, our generation that you can share?
That's a tough one.
I know.
It's easy for me to get carried away, so I have to kind of tailor what I'm saying a little bit because we don't want to give away trade secrets, but I do want to make it compelling.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying earlier, everybody knows how to do steam. Everybody knows how to spin a turbine. We have construction professionals and experts, and I've worked with some of those people everywhere in the world. It's already in wide use in industry for a lot of different things. And if you can generate power with the steam you're making, you can use that steam for other industrial processes too. And we just need to walk in and provide a piece of equipment that we can plug in and operate and maintain. And we're very close to having that.
Yes. So from a timescale standpoint, let's say that the big contract slapped on our desk today, and they said, here's $1 billion or whatever. What do you think our timing looks like, our steps? I know that we can talk about that from a business prospectus point because we would be public facing with that anyway. Right. So give us a little bit from the public facing side of this just landed on the desk. Okay, so Chief Production Officer, what do we do?
We deliver.
Yes, we do. Right
That's
answer.
The easy answer, but I think you want a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
So if I were to get into this a little bit more, I would assure anybody who's looking at getting involved with us that the reactor system that we have is much more simple and less confining to construct than your water circulation and filtration system or your steam circulation and condensate collection and water treatment system to recirculate this stuff to create the power. So the time limit's going to be whatever the construction company says it's going to be for that steam generation system, sans the natural gas-fired boiler or the nuclear fission boiler. So,
okay. Do you feel that with our ability to do the technology, we can describe a different footprint size, for example, than someone else who comes in with using our current technologies of hot fusion? How does that look in terms of scale for footprint? Do you think that we can manage this in a smaller warehouse versus a giant building? Do you think we could even manage it in something smaller?
I think that, barring any sort of liability, of course, for over-promising, but
this is concepts.
From what we've worked on and developed so far, I think the medium-term prospect is that we can beat that power per volume density that you would occupy inside of any facility. And certainly in the short term, comparable to existing systems. So if we were to try and begin a crusade of retrofitting existing natural gas systems or offering that kind of an option to existing nuclear fission facilities, we would not break the bank, so to say, on the amount of space that it takes up, nor would we create any issues with the financial cost of building these systems because of the simplicity and ease of operations. It just becomes a question of getting her done, putting her in place, and letting her rip.
So it works, it's scalable, and it's affordable.
Absolutely.
And then the materials are not so crazy that you can't just go to
these
not
materials,
quite Home Depot maybe, but you know what I mean, right?
Not quite Home Depot, but I think it shamefully close. It's you'd definitely have to include some other materials suppliers because you got to do a little bit of machining and manufacturing with custom components, but it's not the kind of stuff that any sort of you wouldn't be hard pressed to find the availability of both the manufacturing resources you need as well as the material resources you need.
Yes.
In any industrial or industrially capable center.
Right.
You just need a big city and you've got all the stuff you need.
Exactly. So we're not like long lead items that need to be custom manufactured and delivered from some other place, not naming the other country, but it's over on the other side of the Pacific. Right. And we would just say that there's a little bit of the homegrown elements too. This has a very North American feel to it as well.
We do not have to and will not be sending our IP anywhere.
Or gathering materials from
secure.
Without gathering materials from far afield too.
That too. Yeah. You're talking about the rare earth metals that we don't really harvest a lot of here.
That's right.
Can with domestically supplied materials, we can absolutely build this thing easily.
Isn't that incredible?
It is.
It is.
It's almost like everywhere you go, you have the stuff you need for fusion.
And what do we say? You can have fusion on demand. We have gone outside on a tabletop, turned it on with a 12-volt battery, and ran it at 100 and something million degrees X-ray Celsius. So this is not out of reach. This is not something that's tomorrow. This is not, it's going to be part of tomorrow, but it's not something we have to wait for till tomorrow. There's a lot going on today and right now. Mm-hmm. And clearly we have many irons in the fire right now too, and some of them we can't talk about, but we are really excited about our immediate future.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun ride.
So last couple of things. In a perfect world, you have Bryton's playhouse of manufacturing opportunity and production. What would you build and what would it look like to take us into the future? What does it look like?
I mean, I don't think we're from a practical standpoint, I don't know if you're going to be shooting out the same kind of blasts that Iron Man does from his suit, but to power a little mecha suit and like run around and pick up heavy things within a fairly short timeline, I don't think we'd be too far off from making one of these things and powering some robots if you wanted to.
Yeah, repulsors.
Well, I'm not going to get into that.
No, we're not going to get into that. But, somehow, somewhere, that will surface at some point. So that's great. Are there other thoughts that you have about an invitation to the community at large? How would we invite more people to become synergistic with where we're going with this? I mean, this kind of support and McCain calls it, fusion is love and love is fusion. Yeah. From your standpoint, how does that resonate? Would you say that the practicality of design and build is done with love for our fusion materials and the things that we have?
Yeah, and I think it's important because I came here as a direct result of my love for learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for anybody out there. If you love learning about stuff and you're curious, keep working at it. Learn everything you can, and hell, shoot us an email or give us. Well, I don't think our McCain's phone number is directly up on the internet, but you can try and get a hold of us.
Yes.
We don't bite. We don't bite. Come talk to us. We like having conversations, and we're always looking to add people to the team.
Right. And so as we ponder what quantum kinetics looks like in 2 years and 5 years from now, the last thing I want to talk about is this future that's beyond today, and a little bit about where can we go to expand just our footprint here, but also outside of this celestially, and where can you see us on a Martian colony 10 years from now, or even just somewhere in the far reaches of Africa, or somewhere where this just doesn't seem like it would be or fit. So kind of give me the 2, 5, 10-year thought on this.
Oh man, I don't know what timeline people are trying to get to Mars on, or to populate the Antarctic or the bottom of the ocean, but I'm going to say that with the variety of things that are in the sediments that we're getting out of these reactors, if you want to go somewhere inhospitable where you don't have the resources to mine and create large industrial infrastructure, you're going to need fusion. Simple as that.
Yeah, and wouldn't you like to pack it along in a trunk and have everything you need to just, hey, here we are, let's go today.
And I'm not going to put any timelines on this, because I think that would be, from my standpoint, kind of like anything can happen, right?
Well, yeah, no, and we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but all I can tell you is now,
underpromise and overdeliver.
We're shooting.
It's exciting stuff.
It's absolutely, and we should shoot for it. But caveats aside, we do feel very optimistic. Our future is today. Our opportunities are now. And we do invite everyone to kind of get on board with this. We keep saying that over and over. We want you to support this every way that you can. We want you to engage us. We want you to like, share, and subscribe. We want to hear from you. We offer our contact information. It's always associated with each episode. And gosh, we would love to hear from you and tell you how you can become a part of this, either as a supporter or even someone who just wants to know more. We both came as a result of that as well.
A little bit of providence.
Yeah. Pretty
little luck of the draw.
I was going to say a little pretty big scoop of it, actually.
Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah. But I can't be more excited for the things that we can do, what the technology will leave behind, and even after we have done our turn here, how this will be handed off in the future too. This is really that potentially game changing. We just need to get it out of the box and move it out.
We're absolutely going to need collaborators.
Yeah.
And that extends to research institutions, that extends to industry, that extends to every person walking around on the street who even has an inkling of interest in this topic.
Right.
Just engage and ask questions, and if you think you can find that on the internet, go start reading. And if you can't find it when you look, send us some questions too.
Yeah, I started out with basically a high school level understanding of this, and it's been coming up on 2 years, and my brain done got bigger.
You could put it that way.
I could.
I think just like any learning pursuit, you make yourself a bit smarter every day.
Yeah.
And this has definitely been a culmination of a continuing effort in that direction on everybody's part who's involved.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue being that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think we're going to put a bow on it. Any last words before we move to our close?
No, I think I got it all out of my system.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a little bit more coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to be bringing in Jason McCoy again, and we're really excited because Jason is going to tell us about Mother Nature's pathway to fusion as a viable commercialization to a safe nuclear future. And that was a lot to spit out. I had to read part of it because I couldn't memorize that.
Take two.
Yeah. But we appreciate you watching. Thank you again for your support, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. And just remember, folks, we're really happy about this. And I again close. I say Sola Deo Gloria, and that means everything to me. And thank you and welcome again to Quantum Kinetics Bryton. This is a ride that we're going to enjoy years to come. Thank you.
That's all, folks.
All right. Bye-bye now.